It's always nice when you don't see that cobweb ahead of time and then it lovingly cups your face as you walk through it.
Hate that. Welcome to Barb Belt, where everyone's name is Barb. There's my neighbor Barb, my masseuse Barb, even my barber's name is Barb.
It's a lot of barbs. We're getting to that part of the year I like to call us versus the leaves. You can't win, they just keep falling.
They do indeed. I had a dream that I fell off a cliff into oblivion. How about some puppy and rainbow content next time, huh? Thank you in advance.
Seriously, have such a good day. Oh, hello. We didn't see you there. Welcome to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that, so I guess you're in the right place.
Hello, everybody. Episode 117. What a boring number, Sarah. When is our next
Palindrome?
When is our next palindrome?
121.
Is what I would like to know. Oh, yeah. That's coming up real quick here.
It's coming up. Boy, what's wrong with 117?
It's all right. No, actually, 7 was always one of my favorite numbers, so it's all good. It doesn't really evoke anything, I guess. You know, I think because we're in such high numbers now, because we rock, and we've been doing this for so long. But, you know, way back when we'd be like, oh, episode, I don't know, 49. You know, we would sort of have some sort of significance with that number.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show that unpacks the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment. I'm Heather Frank.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And
we're the two amigos.
How is everybody doing out there? Are you sensing some good times ahead? Are you feeling some good vibes?
I wish I could say that for myself. I mean, I feel like there are good times ahead.
Always.
I don't see them on the near horizon, but there's always some good in the muck.
There always is, even if it's like really small. Like, you know what I love lately, Sarah? This is such a tiny little thing, but you know, my boyfriend washes my wine glasses for me. Not all the time, but like he'll do it sometimes and it'll surprise me because I have them all kind of on the counter. And then, you know, I have 3 of them right now, 3 of the ones that I like because I broke the other ones. So I just kind of rotate. And then there's always like 3 clean ones. And then there's like 2 clean ones, 1 and then 0. And they'll sit there and I'll wash them one by one as each day goes by. But then sometimes I'll come downstairs and make dinner and they're all clean. And it's this really nice little surprise. And he doesn't even really drink wine with me. So that's why it's even more special because he's not even washing them for himself. So I thought that was
he
pretty
could be
sweet.
like, that's your deal.
Exactly.
But he's like, well, why don't I just wash the wine glasses and
It's a
have
nice
little counter
gesture.
space? It is a nice gesture. I'm trying to think of any nice gestures I can. Well, there's lots. I mean, you know, people are lovely. There are nice gestures all the time. I ran into one of my neighbors the other day, and she works at the market that's right down the street from me. So I see her. I mean, not every day, but when I go in there on the days that she's also working, and she's been she's been not really around much. I know what her regular days are, you know, and her car is not parked outside. And I kind of asked around, like, hey, how's so and so, and I guess she's been sort of ill, and I ran into her eventually, and she had lost a lot of weight, and she had told me that she's been having some health problems, and she has to get surgery, and I was like, well, I have to get surgery too, and so we kind of stood there in the parking lot where we were just like, what? You're kidding? Like, isn't life the worst? But it was actually a nice conversation. We gave each other a hug, at the end of it, and it was just one of those nice things where it's like, I don't ever want anybody to be sick. That's not what I'm looking for. But there is comfort in knowing that when times are tough, that times can be tough for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
And you just don't know. You don't know what's going on with people.
You don't.
And that's, you don't always have to. You don't always necessarily care. But stuff like that is just, it's like a little heartwarming 5 minutes of my life.
Absolutely. And that's why they always say, try to be nice on the road and be friendly to your neighbor. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with, we're all, fighting the good fight. We all have crosses to bear. We might as well be kind to each other and smile at each other and, I don't know, compliment. They
Yeah.
always say like compliment someone every day on something if you can, brighten someone's day. It does make a difference.
Yeah, I
Makes the
definitely
world
do
go
my
round.
best. I do my
Yeah.
best. I have my moments. I will say, oh, actually, a really lovely thing, a small thing, besides my Roomba that I can hear upstairs is now stuck in that stupid corner in the kitchen again.
Is that what I'm hearing?
But yeah, probably it'll stop eventually. But stupid Roomba. It's like months will go by and it will avoid the corner and not get stuck, and then it just like can't help itself.
Well, yeah,
Messy. That's
as
good.
you're recording. It reminds me of like literally, it hasn't rained for a year. I had this nice new umbrella in my trunk for the entire year. And I remember so many times over the last year opening my trunk and shoving it to the side. Like, I should just take this umbrella out. It doesn't even rain anymore. It's in the way. Like, I keep having to like move it aside. Never use it, never use it. It was brand new. And then a year later, it totally pours on me. So I'm like, oh, I've got that umbrella in the back. And I go back there and it's just like miraculously not there when I need it, of course. It's like something like that where you're like, okay, universe, fine. If you want to play that way.
I'm actually glad you told me the story because my umbrella, I'm looking at it right now. It's like in some weird bag over in the corner of my studio. Because yeah, it was in the corner of my house, like kind of like by the coat rack forever. And I was like, this is just a dumb thing to have in the corner.
Yeah.
I'll go get it when it starts raining again. And it actually did rain here, not that much, but it did. But same thing with my galoshes. I put my galoshes down in the studio because they're kind of big, they sort of take up space.
Yeah.
They're kind of dirty anyway. And I'm walking Otis in the dark the other night because we just had to do a walk. And I'm stepping in puddles and my socks are wet. And I'm just like, God damn it. With
Where are my galoshes when
flashlight.
I need them?
Right, and I should have just thought about that,
Sure.
but it's been so long that they're out of my routine. But they're coming back up.
Yes, they
They're
are.
going back into the rotation.
I know it's like we're really smart, but we're really not in some ways. It's kind of funny how our brain works. But it's funny because that day when I realized I did not have an umbrella, I parked right next to a hardware store where I'd got that original umbrella. And so I was like, oh, I'll just go in and get another umbrella. And there was one left, and it was the exact one that I had bought a year ago. It's like a cute kind of plaid. I mean, cheapy, but it like is one of those big ones with like the wooden handle. So I'm like stoked, get that. I'm using it outside. I go to my appointment. Did I leave with my umbrella, my new umbrella after all this time? No, I left it at that place, went home, got a text message from the person saying I left my umbrella there. So there you have it. It's the endless, frustrating cycle of umbrellas.
Yeah, I've actually gone entire seasons without even having an umbrella, and just like sometimes
They're such a nuisance.
I have like a raincoat with a hood, but I would just sort of get by and not have an umbrella.
It's funny how like it's a useful item, right? It's a product that is made for a specific purpose, and so it's a practical product that you need to have for when water comes out of the sky. But like it's also such a nuisance at the same time, even though it's like it is serving a purpose.
Well, and then you bring them inside and they're wet and whatever. I usually just leave it open and put it on my deck.
Yeah, totally.
Just kind of on its side.
And don't leave it open in the house, or it's bad luck.
No, I don't even have room to do that. But yeah, I just leave it open and just like, who cares if it gets wet? It's umbrella. And then when it dries out eventually, then that's
you're
put it back
listening
together.
to Have Such a Good Day when we're talking about like life's like little nuances and like all the little nitpicky things about being a human.
Well, so I this is a little bit more than being nitpicky, but we like to talk about, a standout day that we might have had over the last week on this show. And sometimes those days are awesome. And this was not one of those days. I'm working on a project, and I'll keep it kind of vague, because I'm not trying to call anybody out, but working on a project, and it's one of these things where it's a podcast that's getting ramped up. And I've done this a ton of times. our show included, right? Where it's like there's a lot of work up front just to kind of like, okay, what's our album art, and what's the format, and what are the what kind of files do we need, and where's the podcast going, and RSS feeds and website, and there are a lot of moving parts. And then of course there's always something to deal with, but it tends to calm down because you get a lot of stuff in place, and then it just really becomes about the content mostly.
Sure.
You make the content, you push the content out, and all of the foundation, has already been put in place. But the ramp up, and it totally depends on who you're working with, can be sort of like, oh, this is relatively easy, or like, oh my gosh, this is such a shit show nightmare. But it's never like seamless. It's always something, or something that you didn't think about, or something that somebody springs on you, and just kind of the way it goes. So I'm used to that. But I had a really weird situation where I had uploaded a new podcast to a hosting provider, which then spits out my feed that I can then use to, propagate the podcast in a bunch of places. And on one of the, networks that it was going to, which was a very important network for the team, where they were going to try to drive a lot of folks to. I know you and me, we don't really say like, hey, subscribe only on Apple Podcasts or only on Spotify or only on Stitcher. It's like, you kind of just subscribe wherever you want.
Yeah.
We obviously want you to be a patron, but we're not totally, we're somewhat, what's the word? Agnostic.
Yeah.
When it comes to, platforms. Anyway, this particular group, they were really specific about like, now this platform. So I upload some files, and something just gets weird where I've got like a couple different versions of the podcast showing up in search. The correct one is there, with all the metadata and everything, but then there's these sort of ghost files that are also there. And, I kind of see that and I'm like, that's weird. It'll probably work itself out of the system because they're not, my originating feed where it's being hosted. I'm looking at it and there's just the one. It's just kind of just a weird thing. Well, that was last week, and other people saw it too, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? How do we get rid of these? And I'm like, I don't really know, but I'll ping, the hosting provider and just make sure that, they're aware that there might be like something funky going on with, the integration to this network, but I don't really know what to tell you. So got a hold of the folks at the company I needed to get a hold of, and they were like, yeah, this stuff resolves itself in about 24 hours. Don't worry about it. So that's what I relayed to the team. And 24 hours goes by, and, I'm starting to get somewhat frantic emails and phone calls.
Oh, no.
And at that point, when you don't know what's going on, and you also, for anybody who works in podcasting or anything that requires RSS feeds of any kind, it can be really difficult to explain how it works to somebody who hasn't done it before. And lots of people don't know, and you don't have to. You can be blissfully unaware of how it works unless you do it for a job, or you just are curious or whatever. But it is hard to explain to somebody where they're like, well, can you just take it down? And I'm like, it's not how it works. Well, can you just take it down here and then leave it up over there? I'm like, that's not how a feed works. You don't, it's not like a turn on, turn off type thing. There's a lot of moving parts. And so 48 hours goes by, and at this point, people are mad at me.
Oh, no.
And they're mad at me because they don't know who else to be mad at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm mad at me because I don't know how to fix it. And I've kind of done all the things I can do. This is, by the way, over a weekend. So, tech support for the folks that I have to, get answers from,
man.
they're not getting back to me.
God.
So it was, by yesterday evening, it was this whole just delete everything, And I was like, I just want y'all to know that if I do that, it's going to be really hard to get everything back up and go. I have to start from scratch. And I know how to do it, but I'm like, I think what we should do is not do that. And we're going to hear back from the people I need to hear back from to fix this. It will be fixed and we will move on with the project. Nope, God, we're deleting everything. So it just became something that bled into today where it was just so much, it was so much extra work for me. And I'm happy to say that the whole thing got handled.
Good.
And, it's all in the past now, hopefully. This particular issue is anyway, but it was, and anybody who's done tech support, like I know we all do tech support for our families and friends who are less technically inclined. It's everybody's got that one person in their family, even if it's not you. It's always me. And I'm happy to do it. And I am always happy that I know an answer when someone goes like, oh my God, you fixed it, that kind of thing. But when you don't know what's wrong, and someone's like, well, are you going to know by 12 p.m., tomorrow, Pacific time? I'm like, no. I mean, maybe, but you can't ask me that because I can't fix this. I'm not just like holding out on you here. I'm not just like sitting here being like, yes, noon Pacific would be perfectly fine for this like strange error that I don't know how to fix kind of thing. And it really it put me in such a sour mood. And I mean, everyone was in a sour mood on the team. I don't blame anyone for being like, hey, we're like really worried that like something's really wrong here. And I'm like, I am too. But I feel like your suggestions are not what we should be doing. But I'll do it because, whatever. And so I did. And sure enough, it should have been done my way and it wasn't. And tech support can just ruin a mood. I'll tell you what.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And especially, I mean, on the weekend, so many of those places are like, yeah, contact us during our business hours, Monday through Friday. And you're like, great.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's a particular, one of the companies has this like, their little, it's their little like message pop-up window, which I've had success with in the past. And what they do is they'll say, if they're going to be away until the next day or something, like we'll return in 4 hours or we'll return early tomorrow kind of thing. So at least you get a sense of like, okay, there's not somebody on the other side right now. And it kept saying like, we'll be back in 2 hours. We'll be back soon. We'll be back in 1 hour. We'll be back in 4 hours. Where I'm just like, what is this? Like I have like some like, I'm writing like urgent and like all caps kind of stuff. And
everybody's out to lunch, like literally long lunch.
I guess
martini lunch.
And, it was by the time this all came to a head, it was on a Sunday, and I mean, I like my Sundays too, but I was totally willing to drop everything and fix this. But it's like you have to assume everybody else is going to be, have the same urgency as you, and that you can't always have that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, oh gosh. I mean, that is something to unpack because I feel like it's gotten a little worse since the pandemic too. People are short staffed and, things are just a little like wacky. They're just sort of not really quite right on the axis right now. It's, everything's a little wobbly.
Yeah. You think? You think? Slightly off right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the pandemic.
Well, I'm noticing, I mean, I'm really struggling with this supply chain thing because like, for example, one of our heaters went out in one of our vacation rentals and it's a brand new heater, brand new thermostat. We actually got something else fixed with it about 3 weeks ago. So I was like, yes, all new, like nothing's going to happen for a while. But no, for some reason, like the thermostat is not talking to the unit itself, and apparently it's some part that we need, and it's not even a rare part, but it's a part that we cannot find anywhere, that is on back order, on like deep back order, which I'm like, great. So like we had to put a note next to our heater like, sorry guys, here's a space heater for now. Like I don't even know what to tell him because I don't know when. I'd like talk about trying to get an ETA. Like, do you think we can get this part in a couple days, at a month? I mean, I kind of need to know, like, do I need to let my future guests know that they're not going to have a heater? I mean, we have a wood burning stove, but not everybody's going to be interested in, using that. it's a little bit of
Right.
work, but like, yeah, I mean, I just think it's like with everything. And I feel like people are out to lunch in the sense, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's a lot of stuff is going on, and it's like, kind of fogging our brains, and, people are just not really with it right now. So it's hard to get angry, but it's easy to get angry, but hard to stay mad because of just all the things. But that is frustrating. I totally get it. I mean, and again, like, I mean, launching anything, I mean, anything you can even come up with
Oh
is going to
yeah.
be hard.
Yeah. Anything that's sort of like, okay, here's the new, you know, chain of events that needs to happen. Here's who's doing what.
Yeah.
One of my biggest pet peeves, which is why probably, I've never really liked being a manager very much, is when someone's like hounding you
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't have an update yet. I didn't forget about this. And that person is trying to manage a project,
Yeah.
and they're not trying to upset you, but you get more and more frustrated, like, you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to help you kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I'm totally speaking generally right now, but that I had a boss once, who, I won't name, but he would, let's say I don't know, like, we were in different offices, or for whatever reason, he couldn't just walk down the hall and talk to me. He would email me something, and like before, like as I would be responding to the email, or maybe I hadn't even seen the email yet, he would text me, Sarah, like question mark, question mark, question mark, and I'd be
Did you
like,
get my email?
he wouldn't even say that. Like, it would almost be like I would see the text and be like, what happened? And that it's sure, like, if that happens once or twice, but like, it used to happen a lot where I'd have to write back, like, politely but firmly, like, sorry, that was my phone. It's from Elk, California, so I don't think it's anybody that I know.
Nope.
Yeah, I would kind of be like, dude, let me get back to you. I'll respond to your email, it would, like, whatever
Like, give me
question
a
it was.
sec.
And yeah, like, either give me a sec, or I hadn't even seen that yet. Like, I have, like, your emails, 20 above, how deep I am, as I'm like doing my other things. And, it was, people would, I guess, call that micromanaging, but it's just a style thing.
It really
Everybody's
is.
got a different style.
Everybody does. Yeah, managing is hard. Managing people's really hard. I don't miss that very much. I only have a handful of people that I kind of manage, but I don't really have to micromanage them. I'm not a micromanager. I hate that so much. But it's nice not to have. I mean, it's kind of a plus not really being doing a big production right now. Is you don't have to manage everybody and their mom. You know.
Yep, I do. Well, Heather, how was your, I don't know, your standout day? Was it better than mine?
I think it was. I mean, the thing is, like you were saying, it just depends on what you want to focus on. And I mean, I would say, like, yes, okay. So what stood out to me this weekend was, it was, it was a pretty good weekend. I was kind of excited for this big storm it was like everyone was talking about it in town, because it hasn't rained for a long time. I mean, it has sprinkled maybe here and there, but it's mostly been really dry because we're in a drought here in California. And so we were kind of pumped, we made sure we had enough firewood in the house, and we were going to make some s'mores and soup and just cuddle up. But so it was like this whole anticipation of this big storm. We're going to get 2 inches or whatever it was, all day and all night Saturday. So, yeah, we planned all these indoor activities, but womp womp, as meteorology is not a dependable science, it only rained for like a few hours in the morning, and it wasn't even a very heavy rain. And then it turned into like the most sunny and warm, like, that fresh after rain where like everything's cleared out. It's like the bluest skies. It's like warm, and just the air is crisp, and it was just one of those weekends where I just was giddy. I was prancing around and singing the hits and all that. I was just kind of like excited, and it just, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's like it could potentially be, the changing of the season, and you just get like sort of a fresh kick in the pants kind of thing. But and one of the other things is I got some really cool like little starter binoculars. I've been wanting to get some for so long. Doing research, Wirecutter, that's kind of the first place I go, and I'm just, trying to figure out what would be best. I'm total amateur. I don't really know much about them. I don't use them. I wanted something to just sort of like see if I can see a whale in the morning in the ocean, and maybe stalk my bear and do some bird identifying, that kind of thing. Even kickstart my secret agent biz. I kind of want to look the part, So I'm like, I got to get some binoculars. And so I want to spy on nature, all those things. So I don't even know how I stumbled upon this, but I didn't take Wirecutter's advice, which I usually do, but I came across this really cool website. I believe it's a company in San Francisco called Nocs Provisions, Nocs, so by Nocs. And it was sort of perfect, just like sort of compact, waterproof, fog-proof, kind of a travel binocular, just really compact. It was $95. And I am loving them. It's been so fun. I've been totally geeking out. I get up in the morning and I'm kneeling on my window seat and I'm looking at pelicans drop into the ocean and grab a fish, and just like, it's really fun. It's like such a fun new toy, and it really makes me think of, how long it's been since I like a new tech toy. It's not like I haven't bought anything. This is just like a fun new toy that I'm really enjoying right now.
And the website is Nocs, Nocs Provisions.com.
It's Nocs Provisions, .com. NOCS. Let me double check that, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, nocsprovisions.com, NOCS. Yeah, very cool. And they have like cute colors, and the case is neat. It's kind of got like a ridged, kind of a beveled texture that I really like. And they're just, they feel really good in your hands. They're really good quality, but like I think a lot of like binoculars start at around 200. Like the ones that I saw on Wirecutter were a little more than I wanted to spend for something that I just wanted to mess around, see if I even use them. But it's kind of perfect in time for fall because, right now, Sarah, it's the autumn equinox. It's basically the end of summer, which it's like I'm excited, but I'm also kind of sad. September 22nd, which is coming up here. But yeah, I've taken out my sweaters and my boots and eaten soup and all the pumpkin spice, this and that. The days are getting shorter. The weather's getting cooler. Halloween decorations came in August this year. That's insane. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to draw the line.
Yeah. I Tom Merritt, my co-host over on Daily Tech News
I know
Show,
Tom.
says, of course you do. A lot of you out there know him as well. He there's a store nearby him where it's just all year round Halloween store. Because the Halloween stores tend to they're like pop up. They'll be there for a couple months and then it'll be like either empty or something else. And just year round Halloween.
Do people? I wonder what their sales are like in January.
I mean, I guess like costume parties happen.
That's true.
Enough that. Yeah,
I'm sure they sell other things. Like I bet they're little, like they're more of a party store, and maybe they sell like Christmas decorations and that kind of thing.
Sure. Maybe there's it's a year-round Halloween store, but with some seasonal items.
Exactly. So, but this is like a good time to sort of like maybe flip the script on something in your life because we're entering kind of that new season. It's a change. We're entering the season of darkness. But reevaluate something in yourself. Maybe order a different breakfast item. Switch it up. Do something different. Let us know what you're going to do different for this coming season. Email us at hi@havessuchagoodday.com.
I really like the fall.
Me too.
I'm a big fan of just. Yeah, the feeling, it's very nostalgic.
It's so nostalgic.
And like, it's not like you're, as you get into the holidays, which is, right around the corner, but as we get closer to that, that's a whole different feeling, which I actually, sometimes I'm not super crazy about.
Me
but
either.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's this September, through kind of, I guess really the end of October that I like. What is really hard for me, and I'm already realizing like I got to switch up some of my routines is the dog because it used to be that I could walk him in light, it'd be getting darker and everything till 9 like I could especially on like a hot night it's like let's go walk at 8.
Love it.
And then the sunset starts creeping earlier and earlier, and the other night And I can tell that the light, because my house is a bunch of windows, and so throughout the year, you can just feel it.
Yeah.
And my cat, goes and sits in perches that she doesn't go in, during the summer, because now she's like, I want sun, I'm not getting it. But I hadn't taken him out, and this might have even been the night after the rain. It wasn't raining anymore, so I wasn't, it was just kind of late, but I was like, crap, and I had to have a flashlight, and I have to do that all winter because I can't just not let him go out after 5 p.m.
Yeah.
when it gets dark. That's just crazy. I mean, unless we completely our schedules would have been an upheaval, and we'd have to start getting up at like 4 a.m. or something. But that is actually hard for me. It is lighter earlier in the morning, even though there's less light overall. If you want to be an early bird, get up, get going at 6, nice and light, where it wasn't really that way a few months ago. So I don't know. There's some silver linings there, but that's the thing. And when I lived in a city, it didn't really bother me because there's street lamps everywhere and sidewalks.
The street lamp thing.
I mean, sure it's dark, and and people and windows, and people they have their lights on, they're watching TV. It's like there's plenty of light. You're not like stumbling around in the dark. Here you kind of are.
Yeah, it's same
stumbling
here.
around in the dark.
Yep.
So you gotta, it's not my favorite thing.
I know,
and I'm not
I'm
even
with you.
scared. It's not a scary thing, even though if somebody jumped out, like there's this one part of my road that's not even really far from where I live. Like, it's not like I'm like hiking way far away or anything. I'm not doing that, in the dark. But it's narrow, and, it's very sort of like under the trees. And if somebody were to be lurking in there, I would lose my mind.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And hopefully Otis would spring into action. Hard to say. That has never happened, but it's, I try not to think in those terms, or then I spook myself.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't walk on our road. I mean, I think it's really safe around here, but there's trees and it gets really dark. There's no street lamps, and I would be walking with like somebody for sure, maybe with a stick or something. I mean, mostly probably because of, wild animals, but the street lamp thing, I never ever thought about street lamps in this way. Like you don't think that, I'm moving to a place that doesn't have street lamps. It's kind of a trip, and it's truly one of the things I miss most about living in a city. When I lived in San Francisco, and LA too, but especially San Francisco, I also, I didn't have a dog at the time, so I was very just kind of like in my own world, but like I would call them my night adventure walks, just by myself, listening to music or whatever. I mean, having my wits about me, Sure.
because you're in a city. But it's like if somebody had a dinner party, I would just walk to their house, and they might live like kind of far. And when it was time to leave, they'd be like, you get an Uber, and I'm like, I'm just gonna walk. And they'd be like, you're gonna walk all the way home? And it's like, I'm not really in the dark though. There's even like traffic lights and stuff. Is like, I mean, it's all very civilized.
God, we're both very deep.
Yeah, I just, and there are a couple of street lamps. In fact, there is one sort of right in front of where the driveway starts, like where my property gate is. And that's actually, it can be a little deceiving, because I'll be like, it's not that dark. And then, but like that recedes real quick when you go in any direction right after you leave my house. And then, I need a flashlight, and sometimes a flashlight and a headlamp until I get back to my house, where I'm like, thanks, street lamp. You were super helpful.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think the headlamp is key because you want to have you want hands free, right?
Yeah. I bought a headlamp last year, and it definitely works. It's a little, there's like, when you're holding a flashlight, you have like a lot of control, right? Because you can just sort of point it wherever. Sure, you don't have that hand to do anything else. The headlamp, I find that like it's really helpful to kind of like, because you can only have it on your head at like an angle. You don't want to be like fussing with it the whole time. The whole idea is just to like put it on. You look weird. You go on your walk, and I find that it's better just like illuminating in general, kind of ahead.
Yeah.
But I also like to look down, because I want to see if there's like a pothole or I don't know, something on the road or whatever. And so it's like you kind of have one or the other. So you're constantly like moving your head up and down to like see things and like moving to the left or the right with your headlamp. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad purchase.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's made by Energizer, if anyone's
Oh.
curious. I got it on Amazon.
I like it. I don't do a lot of walking around at night, because wild animals. So I don't know if I need a headlamp as of
Well,
yet.
and you don't have to walk a dog. I
That's
probably wouldn't either.
true. Yeah.
Not around here, you know.
But I might get a
it's
doggy
just,
dog.
yeah.
You never know.
Well, you might need something to think about.
I'm like, I talk a lot about taking a month off and like going to France and like riding my bike through the countryside and staying at castles. And then I also talk about getting a dog, and I talk about all the different dogs that I want to get. And my boyfriend's like, well, okay, are you going to get the dog like before or after you go to France for a month? Like, yeah, maybe I should write down some priorities here, because the things I want to do are kind of contradicting themselves.
Yeah, I'm gonna have surgery. I don't have a specific date yet, but it's looming. In fact, I might by the next time we talk, but it is major surgery. You know, this is not like, you're back home, and up and running
Sure.
around the next day. It's like, no, it's not
Recovery.
going to be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like to the point where I will not be able to walk him because he's a big dog and you gotta,
Yeah, there's no way.
it's not like he's like fighting me or anything, but it's like, you don't just sort of leisurely walk him. Like,
No, he
you
tugs
kinda-
your
you kinda-
arms and
You
yeah.
got to be on the ball and you got to make sure that you're in control. And, that's just like not something I'm going to be able to do. And it one of the worst things about all of this, well, the worst thing is that I don't want him to go anywhere because I'm going to miss him. But the second thing is like, where the hell is he going to go?
Oh man.
Like to a boarding facility. It's like, it better be a good one, because I can't, I can't imagine, the idea of him, being sad, like
I
wondering
know.
why I left him there type thing.
Awful.
And that's a real thing when you have
Totally.
a pet. Like, sure, my situation's different, but like if you go on vacation and you have a pet and nobody like that you like love and trust can like really take care of that pet for that long, it's like you have to make some hard decisions.
Oh yeah, for sure. And some people are more attentive than others. I mean, I'm glad you're a loving, dog parent, but there's a lot of people out there that just put them wherever, and then they don't really prioritize
and
their
I've heard-
comfort and their happiness.
Yeah. And I've heard some, I don't want to be like a total Debbie Downer, but it's like I've heard some horror stories from people where, they for whatever reason had to put their pet, not always just a dog, but, with somebody, and something bad happened.
Yeah.
And they weren't around to
Totally.
be a part of the, and to like
Horrible.
help and to like spring into action. Yeah. And that,
Yeah, no.
that just, that's no bueno.
No bueno.
Well, you know what else is no bueno, Heather, and I know you will appreciate this because you are a sucker for a well-designed product, like
Oh
your
my
binoculars.
God. Oh yes.
Yeah, well-designed things that work well, and it don't feel like they're made poorly, and all the things. And I've had a few. These are like such minor inconveniences for me, but a few things lately where I'm like, you know what, poor design. So the first one is I had run out of olive oil, and so I go to the store that I go to all the time, and they have like 100 kinds of olive oil. It's like every time I'm just like looking like, which one should I get this time? And they actually, the store, it's called Andy's Produce. It's a great store if you're ever in the Sebastopol area. Lots of produce and stuff, but also lots of olive oil. And I realized they have their own brand of olive oil. It's like Andy's olive oil. And I was like, I'll try it. Why not? I like this store. They probably make good olive oil. And it was like a fairly big bottle, like almost like a wine bottle big. And it was, I take off sort of the metal, seal, and it's like a cork that you take out. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But what I didn't think about was because of that, you have to be so effing careful about pouring the olive oil, or you're going to pour like half a cup onto your salad because there isn't that like little slit that keeps you from doing that.
Oh man.
And it's just been so long since I ever had to think about that, because all the olive
Packaging is
oil
key.
really, yeah, it has, and that happened to me yesterday because I was using it for the first time, and I'm like, like I can't eat salad with this much olive oil. It's like not good, and I kind of tried to pour it out, and it was just like, that is shoddy design. Okay. I know it seems cool to have a cork in your olive oil, but now I have to use like a tiny little, measuring spoon, and that's fine, but it's like one more thing
to wash.
now I have to use. Yeah, and wash, and it's covered in oil and everything. I had the same thought when so I have this kind of fancy shampoo and conditioner. It's like for blonde hair. It's supposed to help you, kind of keep your hair from getting like, for any blonde out there, you know what I mean? Like kind of too brassy.
I know
like,
what you mean.
Where it gets almost like kind of too yellow.
Yeah.
And anyway, so, and this was something that when I used to go to this hairdresser in LA, these were the products that she used on me, and they also sold them, so I bought them, and I really like the brand. And I've been using this brand forever, but what I realized was so stupid about it is, so there's like the bottles are not like I don't know, your like regular shampoo bottle that's kind of like cylindrical. They're square, and the opening kind of comes out like a little spigot at the bottom, and that's like, and then you just stack them on a shelf or whatever, and that's the shampoo. And it looks fine, whatever. But what I've realized, because I'm always spilling a little shampoo, is because when you open it up, all of the shampoo is obviously wanting to come out the bottom. But then when you close the bottom, you're not turning it over again, because the opening is not at the top, it's at the bottom. So it's like you have to like get the shampoo out, then remember to kind of flip it over, and then remember to like flip it back. And I'm just constantly, and it just like, again, I was oblivious of how annoying this was until recently, where I'm like, God, this is such a dumb design. It just looks
It's
cool.
like they're trying to
That's
be
all it is.
innovative with like doing something different.
Yeah, because it's not like, I mean, sure, if you had, what's a good example of this? Like toothpaste. You know how it was like trendy for a while, where it's like the toothpaste would stand on itself, and you open it from the bottom, and whatever, so the toothpaste kind of falls down over time.
Yeah.
They probably still have that. I just don't use that kind of toothpaste anymore. But it's like the toothpaste isn't gonna like run out of the bottom the way like shampoo will. Man,
I know what you're,
I don't know.
I really know what you're saying, sister. I'm sure I have like dozens of products that I could rant about too with the shoddy design. But so what do you do about it? Do you write a letter?
No one will listen to me. I mean, the olive oil, I will say, very tasty. I had it on a salad today. I just have to be more careful about it. But I was like, this just is just something that like you thought it looked cool. Like, oh, it's like wine, but it's like just kind of dumb.
Oh man.
Anyway,
I feel
although
you.
maybe some people use a lot more olive oil at a time than I do, and they're like, you just use a measuring cup. What's your problem? But I only like a little bit at a time. Like, I don't want to go overboard. It's like you don't want things like just like soaked in oil.
It's like products that, like a lotion or something. And when you get to the bottom, the little pump doesn't reach the bottom for some reason. And so you have to
Right.
like take the pump out and like cut the container, or like try to get the stuff at the bottom, because it seems so wasteful. I feel like every container is like that. I don't understand. Like,
I do have some good news though, and this is actually something that I know for once in the show. I actually
Get
have
us
something
out of this
positive
rabbit hole,
to say.
Sarah.
Yeah. Oh, I could go on and on about bad design. I got some olives the other day in a plastic container. Couldn't even fucking open it. By the time I opened it, olives went flying. It was just, And then I closed it, and it was like still stuck again the second time I opened it. Horrible. But so we talked about this on DTNS earlier this week, and it made me very excited because it is a product from IKEA that is a wireless charger. It costs $40.
Wow.
So that's pretty, that's decent
Yeah.
for a wireless charger. Meaning like a charging pad for a compatible, say, cell phone, or there are more and more there are compatible devices that support wireless charging. And until now, most of those wireless charging were they just sort of look like almost like mouse pads of various sizes that you put somewhere, and then you just set your device on it, and so you don't have to plug in your device. That's cool. Why not? Sounds good. Well, this is the same thing, but it's designed to be mounted underneath like a table or a nightstand, or I don't know, wherever you might otherwise have had like a charging station, so that you just put your device down on top of, let's say it's at your end table next to your couch, and that's like where you would charge your phone. Instead of looking at the charging pad is actually mounted under
So it's hidden.
the top of that end table. Yeah, it's hidden. I mean, it has to be plugged in, right? 'Cause
Sure.
it needs to get power, but you don't have to see a wire, and then you just put your phone down on the table, and like magic, it's charging
brilliant.
because it's going through the wood or plastic. I think it works with wood and plastic. Has to be somewhat of a thin surface. Like I measured the desk that I'm sitting at now that I use in my studio. It's kind of thick. It's kind of vertically thick. It's too thick for this to work. But if you had a thinner table, possibly from IKEA, it would work. And 5 watts of charging. So it's not the fastest, but that's better than nothing. And yeah, you basically screw it under the surface, or you can tape it, whatever. And it's designed to have power monitoring and kind of control its temperature. So like, I don't know, if something got too hot, obviously you don't want to like ruin a piece of furniture. But I thought that sounded pretty cool. And it's shipping in October. If anybody is interested, it's not, vaporware. It's right around the corner.
I love it. And I love the idea of getting stuff off the countertop, because I feel like there's like limited real estate sometimes, especially on those small side tables. There's just like the Kleenex box and the lamp and the blah, blah, blah. And like, so it's like taking something off of the top of the table is kind of a nice, and tucking it away. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's really, it's the wireless charging thing has always been fascinating to me. I don't even have any wireless charging pads. I don't know. Maybe I was waiting for the right one, but I'm definitely going to pick up one of these and check it out. It won't be in the studio desk, but I'll find something. I'll find a thin enough tabletop where I can make use of it.
Cool.
And yeah,
Well, let
yeah,
us know how it goes.
just sort of one more thing. Yeah. Instead of like looking at your phone being like, oh my God, it's not plugged in. It's like running out of batteries. It's like, no, it's charging. It's just charging.
I love it. I love it. I mean, speaking of innovation, because I think you and I both really do enjoy innovation. I mean, I'm a modern kind of gal. I like evolution and innovation and renovation and high tech and new ideas, all of those things. And part of the reason why I enjoyed living in the city, because you kind of are at the forefront of that. And I think, Sarah, you and I have lived in places like San Francisco and LA, where there is a lot of innovation happening, especially San Francisco, a lot of tech companies and other types of kind of creative evolution or innovation in Los Angeles, design, architecture, that kind of thing. And it's funny. I think everything is kind of a love-hate relationship, I feel like. But I feel with like the country and with the city, there's a love-hate relationship. And there's just the pros and the cons. We've talked about this so many times before. But I think one of the really hard things for me being up here, being so far north, I'm behind the redwood curtain. You have limited access to like more evolved goods and services. There's really no malls up here, which is kind of nice actually. There's not a lot of big box stores. We don't have a Best Buy up here. We don't have a Home Depot. A lot of those types of places are mom and pop shops like Bob's Tires and Joe's Donuts, and that kind of thing. And they're like family owned, and you kind of have to have Amazon Prime if you need to get like just some wacky, there's always those little things that, I don't know, like a certain kind of cable or, I mean, we do have a Target, thank God, and that's been really helpful. And I'm not just talking about like products, and I'm talking about services too. I think that there's something old Cali up here that I find there's this vibe. And it's funny because a lot of my guests that stay at the Airbnbs they bring this up. This is why I want to talk about it today, because I've had many people say one of the things they love about this place is it feels like old California. And I've just been thinking about that. Like, what is that? Like, that's so interesting because, you and I were both born and raised in Cali. So we're Cali girls. We know California pretty well. We've lived in the north, we've lived in the south, we've lived in the middle. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty familiar with the state. And it's like this strange it's like sort of in the past. It reminds me a little bit of like my hometown. It's kind of a smaller town. It's not a city, it's not a suburb, but it's sort of this, and there's something refreshing about it. There's things I hate about it, but there is a refreshing feeling because there isn't a lot of gentrification and homogenization. So there's still kind of this authenticity sort of thing with the people, because there's no billboards, or if there are, it's like about local spots. There's no real advertising in your face. I don't feel like people in the country are as connected. They're not on social media as much as, people in the city. Real estate is still kind of affordable. There isn't like a big, pardon my French, douchebag contingency up here. You don't really have these groups of people that are fabricated by like a city environment kind of thing. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I find it really interesting that it's like I have a love-hate relationship. It's like I love aspects of that. I love that it's not gentrified and homogenized, and it's like has this kind of old California vibe, but I really miss that innovation, and that sort of new ideas and things really happening. And it's funny because I feel like I can only have a certain like young person's perspective on this old Cali thing, because I think a lot of the people who are mentioning this are older than I am. And so they know California back then much more than I do. My experience was when I was a young person. But I just thought it was sort of an interesting concept. California's changed so much over the last couple decades, I mean, you can't help it. Everything changes. It's fine. But I just find it interesting that I've kind of gone back in time a little bit with where I live. I don't know if you feel that way where you live, because we do live in somewhat similar places. We're a bit more isolated. We're a little further away from a major city. I'm a little deeper than you are, Sarah. But I don't know, just sort of some food for thought.
Yeah, I'm just over an hour away from San Francisco, and there's a relatively, not a San Francisco sized city, but there's a big city, big to me, that's just not even 20 minutes away. Mm-hmm. If I need to, go to Home Depot or whatever, which I never do, but if I did, but where I live, the close vicinity and the few towns that are around me before I get to anything that I would consider a city, it is very much like what you're describing. Mm-hmm. I mean, besides not having sidewalks, that's just kind of like country life.
Yeah.
But there's no, everything is local.
Yep.
There's no chain anything.
No.
Sure, there's a Safeway market in Guerneville, but nothing else in Guerneville is a chain. Besides the gas stations, because they're all chains.
Sure.
Everything is for better, for worse. It's
totally
all
for better, for
little,
worse.
It is what it is. And I definitely, we live in, I live in, it's a, high wine country vacation spot. So COVID has made the last couple of sort of, high season, summertime things feel very different than how they normally would. I would be participating in a lot of that stuff too with my friends, but and I have, here and there, but it's very, you got to be really limited and outside and maybe not go at all and, all that stuff. So the vibe has been a little different for the last couple of years, but it is it's one of those places where you have the locals and then you've got all the tourists.
Yeah.
And the locals complain about the tourists when they're here.
Totally.
But they also make a lot of money from the tourists.
That's the same here.
You know, and then in the winter it empties out,
Yep.
and you just have the locals. Like, besides, I mean, at my Airbnb, people do stay here over the winter. But in general, like, you're not going inner tubing on the Russian River in December.
No.
Like, you'd get hypothermia. And it's just like not happening. I mean, I even don't go out to the ocean, which I love to do when it's like a little too chilly, because I'm just like, you're just out there like, oh, it's really cool. But it does feel like, especially having gotten to know a lot of the people that live around here, it's like they want to live here. They like it here.
Yeah.
And some of these people are rough around the edges. I will not sugarcoat it. Many of them are really, really kind. And a few of them I would consider, I don't know if I've made like any best friends around here, but I would call them my friends. And that is, I sometimes wonder, I'm like, you know, am I that person now? Because I'm not ready to be that person. But I'm not like trying to flee either.
Yeah.
It's like I really like some parts about the old school kind of I hate the word quaint, but that is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
And just being off the grid a little bit.
Yep. I do too. And the authenticity and the egalitarian kind of feel to it. There's that's the problem. It's like everything is just it's apples and oranges. It's just you can't really compare. Everything has its goods and its bad and all that. But anyway, we ramble.
I do miss a good sidewalk and a night
Me
walk
too.
under the lamps.
I do too. And a good taco.
Otis says me too, because we used to walk around at night, you know? Yeah, I like at 10 p.m. I'd be like, yeah, let's walk around the block.
Yep.
Now I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Let me get my headlamp. God,
Can't
couldn't
win.
you have gone earlier? God, Sarah, I did it again. Can't win.
Nope.
Absolutely can't. Well, listen, as we're wrapping up the show, we want to remind everybody, we mentioned it at the top of the show, but we'll do it again, that we survive from the love and support of our patrons. If you are in a position to become a patron and you haven't already, please go over to patreon.com/havesuchagoodday, where you can learn more about our tiers. Anybody who joins at the $5 and up Patreon level can get in our Discord if you're so inclined. You don't have to, but we'd love to have you. We've got a fun little group in there. We're really a little family at this point, and we'd love to have you. And anything that you can contribute to the show directly helps us keep the show going. So thank you in advance.
Yeah,
and
thank
thanks to
you.
everybody who's already been a patron for as long as you have. You know, some of you have been with us from day one, and we couldn't thank you more.
And if you're not a chatty Cathy like we are, you don't have to chat all the time in Discord. You can just be a fly on the wall. You can read, you can enjoy the back and forth. So don't even sweat it. We'd love to have you no matter what kind of person you are. But in Discord right now, speaking of, we are talking about things like, I don't know, I brought up this kind of quandary I'm in right now. I'm not really sure if I should go for Spotify or Apple Music. I need a new music platform. I've been kind of like surviving on Sirius Radio for a while, and I think that the time has come that I get a real platform. So one of our patrons, I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Well, I'll give it my best. I think it's Geoyakult. Geoyakult.
Yeah.
Sorry, Geoyakult. I even know what you look like, and I can't even say your name because I've never actually said it out loud before.
Our buddy Geo ripped his CDs to MP3s, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's something he did during lockdown. And I'm just curious, have any of you done anything novel during the lockdown? Join the conversation or email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com.
Yeah, that's another reminder. You can please hop in Discord, super fun. And if you just want to email us directly and we can talk about it on a future episode, that'd be great.
All righty.
All right, Heather. I have some sort of a gnat. It's not like a fly, but some sort of a stinky old gnat that's been in my face this entire show. And
Well, at least it's not in your ear.
Yeah, really. I'm wearing headphones, so that would be pretty hard. But it's fun because my dog is sleeping at my feet, and like every once in a while, he's now bothered by the gnat. So like the two of us are just like, like I'm like waving my arms, like thank God they can't see me, And then Otis kind of wakes up and like chomps at the air. Stupid gnat.
Well, you guys have fun with that.
Thank you.
It's good seeing you, Sarah.
Good seeing you as well, Heather. And we will be back next week with another fun-filled episode of Have Such a Good Day. Until then, we wish you good health and good tunes, however you listen to them. And until then, I will remain Sarah.
And I will be Heather forever. Have such a good day. Ciao.
Later.
Dude.